Hey folks, welcome back to the Metal Mill 52 workshop. My name is Bill and I'm working on an LBSC TICH. In this week's episode, we'll talk about making the hangers and machining the brake shoes for the brake system. So here's this is one that I made from scratch. This is one that I made from castings that came with the kit. And the hangers I made from sheet metal. So Hope you enjoy this one. A lot of good technical stuff in this episode. If you have any questions, please let me know. Please ask. If you enjoy it and you don't have questions, just please give me a thumbs up. It encourages me, kind of lets me know the people that are watching. So thanks again, everybody. Appreciate you joining me on this journey. One more thing before I drilled the holes, I decided I could go ahead and lay out. All I did was connect the dots between where the holes are going to go, and then I used a little straight edge here and the tips of my caliper. I set it on 3/32 because the hangers themselves are supposed to be 3/16 inch wide. So I basically just scribed out the outline, and then I used my dividers here to scribe a little circle at the end. I just thought that would be super easy. I was going to cut out the paper and try to trace it, but that'd be kind of silly. So now just drill the holes and then cut it out with a bandsaw, and round and thin. I should be good to go. So here's the first one done. You can get an idea how good this is going to come out. Pretty handy. Careful how you put your supports. You don't want to put the supports in a place where you're going to drill. Alright, here we are. I'm cutting out almost done cutting out the very first one. Very roughly cutting it out. First one of the brake hanger arms. And it's coming out okay. I'm using this bandsaw that I built myself in 1984. It's a Gilliam Manufacturing. It's made out of wood. And they used to sell these kits that had the metal parts, and you build the frame out of wood and build your own bandsaw. So I'm happy to use it. I've got a metal cutting blade in there, and I guess I should show a detail of this, but it's powered by a washing machine motor that's about 40 years old, and I built a jack shaft over there halfway up that reduces the speed. So pardon the erratic camera work, but I'm pretty excited to get these hangers, the first of the hangers, cut out. So I'm going to cut out all 4 of these, and then I can use the belt sander to smooth them and round them. Hey folks, I wanted to point this out. I'm on my last hanger now, and it wasn't really safe to cut the inner cut of this last hanger on the bandsaw because it needs to be supported. It kept trying to dip through there, so I just clamped it to the table here, and I've been using my metal cutting blade and my little coping saw. And it's taken a little, not terribly long, but just a few minutes, but I've made this really nice cut with the coping saw with the metal cutting blade. So just wanted to point out that that's a good alternative as well, and not that hard to do. I finished the 4 hangers, and now I'm making the little hanger pins or rods that will go into the chassis of the locomotive. This side, what I'm doing is mass producing. I'm making 4 of these that are the outside, and right now I'm using 440, kind of converting the design to American conventional threads. So 440 threads, 3/16 inch stock, and then I turned it down to 112 thou. I left a little shoulder there that doesn't have any threading on it, about 95 thousandths worth of a shoulder, and then the rest of it's threaded for 440. Now I'm going to cut it off at 3/4 inch length, and I've already made 3 of these, and I can reverse them and then make a separate 1/8 inch shoulder with a smaller 440 thread that'll go into the chassis. So there's a couple of the hangers just loosely installed. And here is the next to last hanger pin. The side with the nut on it is the side that's going to go inside the chassis. And then here's the remaining hangers and the one unmachined or only halfway machined pin. Just thought I'd give you an idea what that all looks like. Now that we've made the pins for the hangers and the brake hangers themselves, the next thing to do is to work on the shoes, just working my way down. And the set of castings that I got just came with 3 brake shoes instead of 4. So my friend Fred gave me this chunk of cast iron. It looked like it was cut off of a different part, something else he made. I forget what he told me it was, but so I've outlined with magic marker. This will be plenty big enough to make one, and I'm thinking this will be perfect actually, because I can just leave this all together in the mill, clamp it in the mill, and go ahead and put the 1-inch radius here in the center, and then mill the slot and drill the hole for the pin, and then I can just mill the outline, the shape, the little hat shape, and when I have all that work done, then I can just slice it off at the right thickness, and I'll have me an extra blank. And it'll be a good experiment too for that first one. I can learn about the techniques that I need. I don't think I'm going to need to do much to these other than drilling the hole, obviously milling the slot in the middle, and then facing them a little bit. They're a little bit too thick, so they'll have to get milled down a little bit. But that'll be the next thing. Starting to try to make a brake shoe out of this scrap of cast iron that Fred gave me. First idea, I've got it clamped up and nice and secure in the vise here, so I'm going to mill off the top flat so we have at least one flat surface to work with. It's more than enough material in all directions for what we needed to make, so mill it flat and then cut the radius, and once the radius is cut, then I can drill the hole, then I can do the artistic bobs to try to make it look like a little hat, and maybe mill the center section, or at least saw it off at the correct 1/4 inch thickness, and then tip it over this way and mill it like I plan on milling the others. I'll bring you along for the steps. Alright, once I got the top of it milled flat, then rather than getting all technical and trying to figure out a way to make a perfect arc, I first checked my castings that came with the kit, and all of these have a great fit, just like the book says. I mean, they all fit on the wheel, so that's the right arc or radius for the cut to be there. So basically what I've just done, I traced the arc onto the stock with a scriber, and then I've set up my boring barb, my boring head, and just set it so it comes in the correct distance, and I marked basically the entry and exit points of the arc there on the flat. So I've got it manually adjusted, so I'm going to lock in my table here, and I'll turn the machine on, make sure I've got it in the proper gear, proper RPM setting, and just make numerous cuts till I put that arc in the entire depth. I'll bring you back for some of the actual machining. Start out, I'm just going to take a real light cut and stop that. I don't know if this will show up on the video, but that first arc, it's actually just perfect. It's like right where I traced it. It's amazing looking. So I'm going to continue on here. Feeding it down manually, I'm using my foil DR rod just to give you an illustration. So far I've only gone 44 thousandths per minute, so very, very slowly. so I'm not completely boring. What's that, 2 minutes? Okay, before I take this all down, let me just show you how nicely this cut came out. Just a perfect little arch. And if you're wondering, that the bottom was not level before, this is some kind of a foot. But look at that nice little cut in the cast iron. Perfect little radius for the wheels. So now I'm going to set my 0,0 on my DRO, and I can come in here and drill the hole, the pilot hole for the retaining pin, and then we can mark out the design to make it look like a brake shoe, and I can just slice it off. You can see I've used the end mill just to plunge cut and give a little bit of a hat shape, a little artistic shape on one side, and making the second side right now. Working out pretty good, pretty much like what I had in mind. I'm just going to continue on this general idea until I get the shape how I want it, which is about there. Just a little bit more, and then I'll use a cutoff wheel to cut it off exactly at an 1/8 inch thick. I think I'll put instead of using the cutoff wheel to put the slit, I'll do that on the mill when I do the other ones. Okay, here's the new blank, ready to get sawn off at a 1/4 inch thick. Shape is pretty much the same. Every time I sand it, grind it a little bit, it'll look just like its stock cousins from England from 40 years ago. Getting ready to use the cutoff wheel. Here, I'll show you how that goes. About halfway through the cut, slicing it right off at a 1/4 inch thick. Using the tap paste lubricant. And I've got the mill in reverse, so real slow. I'm feeding it real slow. I've seen cutoff use where some people go really fast, and I don't know, I seem to have really good results with this. This is a very fine blade on there. It's about a 55,000th of an inch thick blade, and I'll just go a little while, and then I put on a little bit more of the tap paste cutting fluid here on the teeth. It's kind of goopy because it's cold out right now. Relatively cold. It's probably in the 40s outside. In the shop here. It's a funky noise. You can only go so far because of the base there is about to interfere with the bottom of the part. You probably have to bring it around and cut from the other side. We'll go as far as we can. Okay, well, here's my semi-finished product anyway. Really pleased. Look at that. I don't know if you can see how good that fits on the wheel. For eyeball engineering, it doesn't get a lot closer than that. Pretty happy about that. So thank you, Fred, for the scrap piece of cast iron. I think I made good use of that. The only thing that really needs to happen now is to tap the small side for 440 and then mill the slot for the center for the hanger. And then that piece will be done, and we can work on the rest of it. This may be of interest and may help some of you that are building these locomotives. This is the custom brake shoe that I started making from that piece of scrap that Fred gave me. Last night I got so frustrated I broke 2 of my little 3/32 inch end mills. It's purely user error. I was just feeding too fast. Anyway, I decided to take a tip from the book and set this thing up and drill with a 3/32 inch drill down through, and I tried to do 2 drills. I couldn't. It started to bend on me on the second one. So anyway, now that I've got it drilled at the base, I'm going to take this out and hacksaw out any remainder that's in there that could get caught, and then I've got one more 3/32 inch end mill remaining. I can use that to hopefully clean out the slot, but hopefully you'll don't do like me, don't break your end mills. So here we are with my fabricated brake block. I cut the bottom off it a little bit to make room for a nut here on the bottom. It doesn't wiggle. I need to file it a little bit more so there's a little bit more adjustment in there. But let me show you how it sits on the chassis of the locomotive itself. Here's what I mean. It needs to be able to rock, come loose a little bit, just so it can conform to the wheel. And the other thing is, whenever I go final on this, I'll need to not use a screw with such a large head, because that could foul against the coupling rod. Here, let me move it back and forth. There's barely enough room. You can see that if it was a flat head or a countersunk, it would be fine, but not really enough room for a head like that. But I'm pretty pleased overall that this worked out for a homemade one. So now I'll get busy and work on these that came with the kit. Starting to work on the stock provided brake shoes. Decided the first thing I would do is go ahead where they're all together like this, is mill them down to the correct thickness. So this is my last pass using a carbide cutter. As I tried a conventional run and it really didn't want to attack that cast iron, but the carbide one's doing a good job. So then I think the next thing I'm going to do is try to put the slit in. I tried this little method for the initial cutting of the slot in those brakes. I figured once I got them milled to a a quarter-inch thickness, and you see I got a pretty nice finish there, I just clamped them to this really thick, sturdy piece of angle iron and going in very slowly with the slitting saw. Now the slitting saw is only 58 thou wide, but my first objective is to try to get the proper depth hole cut or sawed, and then I can try to widen it out by raising and lowering the table. If that doesn't work, then I can always resort to using the vertical mill, putting the pieces up inside the vertical mill vise and milling it with conventional with it. This is a good way to get a lot of the stock removed. So I'm pretty excited about this one. So far, so well. Please excuse the rather hot rod expedient mechanic clamping methods. I'm not sure if this will work or not, but I finished the initial cut as far as I could get without removing the clamps. And so I've raised up the blade 20 thousandths of an inch, and I'm going to go make the same cut all the way, and then I'll back it back out and I'll lower the blade 20 thou, see if that'll give me the just under 100 thou slot that I'm looking for. It will be nice if that works. And what I'll do, once I finish the upper and the lower, then I'm going to remove the blade, move the table back to the 0 position, and I'll flip the castings over so that I can finish up on that third one that's closest to us. Just with that vice grip in there, I'm not able to reach all the way. Hope this will work though. Okay, it's a little easier. The machine and the rotary converter are cut off now. I have a three-phase rotary converter that makes that loud noise in the background of all of my videos. So I've just shot the part with some WD-40 and brushed it out a little bit. I don't know, that's looking pretty good. I'm not sure that's a 93 thousandths or so gap, but certainly looks like a really good start anyway, and I haven't broken any end mills. So now I'll just unclamp it, flip it around, and repeat the process to get, I got about halfway through that shoe. I'll just flip it around and get the other one. Okay, there you can see the slot. It came out really nice. Heck of a lot better than drilling a zillion holes. It's not quite wide enough, so I have my little 3/32 inch end mill. I'm going to set it up, tip it up this way, and just mill it out. Okay, the vertical milling part came out really well. Got a nice fit there on the drop arm. Okay, I think this is going to be a nice solution. As you can see, I still have the three of them together, and I've gone ahead and drilled and tapped for 440, and countersunk the outside, what will be the outside face of each one, so I could use countersunk screws. I'll probably try to find some plain ones instead of these Phillips head. Either that or just paint these black. But anyway, I think that'll be a nice solution for keeping the brake shoes in place and having them clear the connecting rods. Now I need to just finish all these. Really need to take the other one, the original one that I made, and provide the countersinks to it as well. Okay, well, getting to fit these brakes the way they need to be is quite a process, but I'm pleased to report this is one of the castings that I've finished machining, one of the 3, and there's the hanger, and I've got it fitted nicely. I ended up having to mill out a little bit on the ends to give it a little bit of room. See if I can manipulate this with one hand. I don't know if you can see, there's just a little bit of wiggle room. Hopefully you can see that. That will allow it, slip it on the wheel here, it would allow it to conform to the wheel diameter when the brakes are applied. So again, I'm pleased with the fit. I like the countersunk Phillips head. Well, I'll replace those with something that looks a little bit more traditional, maybe a straight bladed screw. But so we've got 2 down, got a bunch more to do. Before I did the relieving of the ends, this is what I'm faced with. See, it doesn't line up all the way, so I'm belt sanded a little bit off the arm and also relieved the ends a little bit to basically just to accommodate the curved shape of the hangers. So I hope that makes sense. This will be my last segment for this week. It's been a couple weeks since I posted, so I want to go ahead and post this. Obviously, I'll continue on with the brake system and keep you posted when I have another significant milestone. Thanks again, everybody. Appreciate you joining me on the journey to build the Titch, and I hope you have a great week. Please like, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, all that kind of good stuff. Thank you.